How's it going, guys? Spencer from Berkshire Bass here, back with another product spotlight. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Megabass Uoze swim jig. Very, very unique swim jig. As you see, it's got its little willow blade at the bottom to give it a little more extra action. Really cool swim jig. Very unique, as I said. Light little weed guard. But the big deal for me is the head on this thing. Very realistic head. Swims really, really true. Sometimes you guys will have problems with other swim jigs. They'll hunt a little bit. They won't swim straight through any kind of cover you're trying to fish it through, any kind of pads or reeds you're trying to fish it through. But I really like swimming a jig super shallow. That's what I like to do, whether they're not blowing up on that frog you want them to be the way you want them to, or you're just having trouble getting them in the boat on the frog. I'm gonna pick up a swim jig and kind of fish that same water. So if you guys see where, this is one of my favorite swim jig lakes here. We're fishing real shallow reeds and kind of early summer. It's a great time to, put a swim jig in your hand, lock that thing in your hand, get up on the bank, because these bluegill are spawning, and it's a great imitation to, try and trick those bass that it's a little bluegill swimming through their territory there. But yeah, you pair it up with your favorite trailer. I like to throw a little swim bait on the back of it, whether it's a Kai Tech or a Big Bite Pro Swimmer, little 3.3 size. Keep that thing super compact. Keep that thing real tall in the water column, and you'll see them come up and trash this thing. But yeah, I like to pair it up with a Ducket Micro Magic. Pretty heavy rod. It's a 7.6 heavy, 30-pound Cortland braid. A lot of guys are going to go to that 50-pound braid. For me, I have no problem with the 30. I guess I just don't catch big enough bass to move up to that. But I love the castability of the 30, and I've had no problems breaking off. But we're going to swim this thing down this beautiful little grass line here, and hopefully you move one for you. Yeah, guys, we're fishing down this little grass line here, and you can just see all these bluegill real tight to the bank, up on the bank. See all their beds. They're spawning, and whenever those bluegill get up on the bank doing their deal, them largemouth like to get real shallow, feed on them, feed on their eggs, and that whole deal, kind of like they do when the bass are spawning. But it's a great time to pick up that swim jig, because that's kind of ideally, obviously we don't have the exact color for a bluegill imitation, and that's mostly for me because I really like to keep this bait super visual. So we got a little dingy water here, so I'm gonna go more towards the white, because I swim this thing real shallow, and I like to see them come up and trash the thing and keep it super visual. But we're fishing this thing no more than a foot of water, and there should be some good largies up there eating on bluegill, chasing bluegill around, and we're gonna try and trick one or two of them here. But yeah, that's the cast you want to make right there. And a lot of time when this thing hits the water, you'll see them, that last little one we stuck on this one, you'll see them sprint to that thing from, a couple yards away. Because you're looking for real aggressive fish that are actively feeding. But we've caught some good ones on a swim jig here, that's for sure. Let's see if little one snapped at it. And I mean shallow, like backing that stuff over there. These fish will get real shallow when they're chasing them bluegill, eating them bluegill. Another little point that I'm fishing right now. Oh, the baby. Yeah, so right where I got that little bite, guys, I wanted to talk about it before. But anytime you get a little separated clump like this, where those reeds are by themselves, that's kind of an ambush point for these largemouth. Or something like this, where you get a big point of reeds coming out, and you see that little ending right there, make a cast right on the edge of that, walk that thing right there, and a lot of times these fish are going to be setting up looking out of that ambush point, and you'll get a lot of bites either on a frog or a swim jig or something that you're fishing real shallow right on these little points of the grass. And what it does also, little better one, threw it off, but Phil got hit by the swim jig. But right off that point, just like I was saying, fish them right off that point. And what that'll do a lot too is, say you're fishing a gigantic pad field or a huge grass flat or a huge reed line. What it will do is just, narrow in on those points. It'll make a huge body of water real small and high percentage areas to get bites. Yeah, another little point for you guys, swim jig or frog fishing, that I see a lot of guys do is I'm actually gonna fish, say you got, pads growing out from the bank, obviously here. I'm gonna fish this swim jig specifically. I'm gonna get my boat horizontal to those pads, and I'm gonna fish that thing down the bank rather than fishing it off the bank and dragging it out. because a lot of times when these pads aren't fully grown in yet, as you can see, they're kind of halfway grown in, these fish are going to set up on that outer pad line. Now when they're fully grown in and we're dog days of summer and these fish got to get tight and get under some cover, yeah, pick up that frog, pick up that punch rig and get that thing in that thick pads in there. But with this swim jig, I'm just, you know, making a bunch of fan casts right down this little bank here, trying to cover a lot of water, put this in some high percentage areas and see if we can get some bites. And you'll see I keep that rod tip pretty tall here too. That's because I want this thing to track right through all them pads, all through those pads, and you'll see these little pops. What that does is just throw some grass off, gives a little bit of an action, and a lot of time you're going to give it right after that pop. It's going to trigger a little reaction bite off a piece of grass, off a pad stalk or something like that. Hope you guys gained a little insight on this week's product spotlight on the Megabass Uoze swimmer. Super versatile swim jig. If you guys are struggling to put fish in the boat on a frog or they're not hitting it the way you want, tie on one of these swim jigs and you might find a little more success on it. But yeah, stop by the shop, jump on the website, pick one up. Give us any feedback. You guys have any ideas on the bait or any way you guys fish it, let us know. We appreciate the heck out of it, guys. We'll see you on the next one.